Chapter 20 The Pilgrim. In the autumn of that year, when the leaves of the willow wood had gone the color of old brass and the garrison folk were getting their roofs sound before the rains, there worked at the forest's edge a charcoal burner named Sten. He was a solitary man, as colliers are, for the trade keeps a man at his mound through the slow weeks of the burn, watching it day and night so the fire does not break the turf and ruin the whole of it, sleeping in snatches in a low hut beside the smoke. He had had a wife once, and a place in the village once, and now had neither, and did not speak of why. He set his burn on the high ground where the firm land gave way to the willows, near enough the old stones that the settlement people would not come that way, which suited him well. He liked the quiet, and he did not like to be asked things. The traveller came at dusk, on foot, from the south. Sten saw him while there was still light enough to take his measure, a man neither young nor old, thin, with a pack and a stick and clothes that had been good once and were worn now to the color of the road. He carried no blade Sten could see. He stopped at a polite distance, the way decent men do at another man's fire, and asked might he share the warmth a while, and Sten, who would rather have said no, found he had said yes before he had decided to. A pilgrim, Sten took him for. He had the look of it, and the quiet, and he asked for nothing but the fire and a little hot water for the leaves he carried. He did not ask the things travellers ask: how far to the village, what the Lord took in toll, where a man might sleep dry. He asked instead about the stones. Not the way a frightened man asks, to know what to keep clear of. The way a man asks after old friends. Which of them still stood true, he wanted to know. Whether the tall one in the hollow, the one with the worn marks on its western face, still sang when the wind came hard from the east. Sten did not know that it sang. He had heard the wind make a sound in the stones, the breath through a gap sound that everyone at the edge knew and no one minded. He said as much. The traveller nodded as though Sten had told him something, and named the stone, a name Sten half knew from his grandmother and had not heard since. They did not talk much after that. The traveller was easy to sit with, which Sten had not expected, and the night came down cold and clear, and the burn breathed its low red breath at the two of them, and somewhere out in the dark the stones took their turns at the wind. Sten woke once in the deep of it. The fire of the burn had sunk to its working glow, and the traveller's place by it was empty. Out beyond the light, where the ground fell away toward the hollow and the tall stone, there was a shape that might have been a man, standing close to the stone, very still, with his head bent to it the way you bend to hear a low voice. Sten thought he heard something under the wind. He could not have said what. A pilgrim at his prayers, he told himself, and a man was entitled to his prayers, and the night was cold and the hut was warm and he was asleep again before he had finished thinking it. In the morning the traveller was gone. He had banked the fire kindly before he left, which was more than most would do, and left beside it a small thing wrapped in a leaf, a pinch of the bitter leaves he had brewed, for thanks. Sten could see his track in the dew, going not back toward the village but on, north and east along the line of the willows, up toward the high country where Sten had never had cause to go and knew nothing of, save that the burn men who had worked it in his father's time did not work it now. He thought of the man on and off through the day, the way you turn a small thing over, and then he stopped thinking of him, because the burn wanted watching. It was 3 days after that the tall stone in the hollow began to weep. Sten noticed it only because he went down for water, and the seep was new, a dark wet line down the western face that had been dry stone all the years he had burned there. He put his hand to it. It was cold, colder than the morning warranted, and it smelled faintly of something he had no word for, like a cellar long shut. His old dog would not go near it and stood off in the brush with its hackles up and made a sound Sten did not like. He moved his burn the next week to ground further west and told himself it was for the better wood. He did not speak of the traveller to anyone, for there was nothing to speak of a quiet man who had shed a fire and gone on his way, as men did, by the time the wizard's people came asking. That winter, after other things, Sten had near forgotten him, and what he remembered did not seem worth the trouble of saying.